Welcome to Adventures with Captain Ray Kelly. This is primarily a drone show. We'll be sharing adventures from all over the world. We hope to have interesting guests every week, and we're glad that you tuned in tonight. We'll be flying different drones in different locations. We encourage viewer participation in the chat. If you have a question, don't be afraid to ask. Every week we'll have another interesting guest. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. We'll be sharing various adventures by our guests as well as myself. And thank you for joining us tonight. Hi, welcome everybody. Welcome to Adventures with Captain Ray Kelly Live. It's Thursday night. Another week has passed, and hope everybody had a great week. They got out there and did some flying. Um, I did. I got out and I flew with Joe. He's a new drone pilot that I gave a couple of lessons to, and I took him down to Mount Sinai Harbor initially, and we flew there. We checked in on the osprey nest that I found down there, and Joe did his maiden flight with his new. This is a funny story because Joe bought a Mini K on my recommendation. You know, it's the cheapest DJI drone. He went out and bought it immediately, but then he had a problem downloading the app, and he saw me with the DJRC controller, and he liked it, so he immediately upgraded to a Mini 3 Pro with the DJRC controller. And he did his maiden flight when we were down in Mount Sinai Harbor, and he did awesome, really. He ended up finding that osprey nest and got some shots of the osprey and the boats in the harbor. We even filmed some fire trucks that responded to an alarm at one of the houses right by the harbor there, but it turned out it was a false alarm. But we filmed them from a safe distance away, of course. But Joe was becoming quite the drone pilot, and then I met him down in Port Jefferson Harbor a couple of days later, and we flew the ferries, you know, the ferry boats that come from Connecticut and leave and bring the passengers to Connecticut. And he did some ferry chasing. So we had a great time. And Jeff Norman ended up joining us too. And Jeff Norman shared his knowledge. And you all know that Jeff knows a lot about photography and drone flying. And Joe was glad to get that information from him. Then we went out to breakfast, but I won't bore you with that story. But anyway, it's good to see everybody. Really, thank you so much for tuning in. Um, I am humbled every week. You know, I always wonder how many people are going to be watching, and it's always good to see you guys. Really, really. Paul Brown, he was number one. How you doing, Paul? Good to see you. And Barkley, 107 Drones, he was right behind him, number two. Thank you guys. And Aki Rasho, Warren, how you doing? Good to see you. And I know I saw Jody Jones shots, and really, it means so much. It means so much. And Brian, Waypoint, New England, how you doing tonight? Good to see you. But I got a great show lined up. I got two great guests. Our surprise guest did show up, so I'm gonna hold that off. I won't mention his name right now, but you're gonna love him. He's really a great guy, and he's becoming quite the drone pilot. But Jeremy Alms from Elevated Vision Imaging is our special guest tonight, and he's coming to us all the way from Nevada. They're both in the back room right now enjoying the shrimp and lobster that I put back there for them. So, but again, thank you guys for tuning in. And did I say hello to Ron? Ron Johnson's watching. How you doing, Ron? Good to see you. But I tell you, you know, it's one of those things where I was humbled again because Jeremy ended up composing a new theme song, which surprised me. I got my little intro and I use iMovie music, but now I have my own theme song thanks to Jeremy. So let me just play a little bit of that. And I think it's cool. Really, really.
Thursday nights, the clock strikes 7. Tune in for a slice of drone heaven. It's adventures with Captain Ray Kelly. Grab your seat, get nice and comfy. With Captain Ray Kelly as your
Wow.
guide. Every Thursday night, come along for the ride. Monthly giveaways, tips of the week. Viewer videos that make you peak. From mountain tops to oceans blue, Ray's got the footage just for you. Sharing tips to make you fly higher than the clear blue sky. Captain Ray Kelly as your guide every Thursday night. Come along for the ride. Monthly giveaways, tips of the week. Viewer videos that make you peak. From mountain top to oceans
Really.
blue.
I tell you, I am really, really touched and honored by this. Really. Thank you so much. Really. But now all I got to do is figure out how to add this to some video to make it a little more interesting. But I'm sure Jeremy will teach me how to do that. But thank you so much. And I think this is so cool, really. If you want to listen to the rest of that, go to my channel. I'll have it posted, and Jeremy has it posted on his channel. So, but thank you so much, really. Never in all my life would I have thought I'd have a customized theme song. So, but listen, I see John Bonifont's watching, and Angel Drone Guy 42. Always good to see you. And we got JC flying, John Carroll watching down in North Carolina. Good to see him. And we got Captain Joe. How you doing? Good to see you. And Ronnie, God bless America. I'm telling you, everybody's popping in now. So thank you guys. Really, I appreciate it. John Olson, he's my fellow Long Islander, and I'm going to make you a moderator. I promise, John. I don't know what happened. I thought I did already, but I'll do it right after the show. And Dee Darren, he's watching all the way in Ireland. How you doing? Good to see you. And we got Ron Lockwood in the house tonight. I'll make you a moderator too, Ron. Thank you. RL Photography. He's watching out in Wyoming. But I tell you, I don't want to leave the guests. I'll get back to the name shortly. I'll keep an eye on the chat to see who pops in, and I'll try to acknowledge you. But if I do miss your name, I don't do it on purpose. Believe me, I don't. But I want every and Bob Casey's in the house now. How you doing, Bob? Good to see you. And joining with Jamie, I'm telling you. And Joe Blaylock's watching. How you doing? Good to see you. But anyway, I want you all to give a warm welcome to our special guest tonight, Jeremy Alms. He's coming to us all the way from Nevada. How you doing, Jeremy?
Hey everyone, how are you?
Yeah, good to see you.
Glad to be here.
Welcome,
And
welcome.
I'll make sure I get you that audio so you can put it to whatever video you want. I'll send you the MP3 file.
Well, I'll tell you, that was great. I got to say thank you so much for doing that, really.
It was a good time. We'll get into it, but I'm a software developer, so some of that stuff comes natural to me. And so it just was no brainer to start making some videos for you guys.
Yeah, no, that was really great. He also did one for the Fly for Fun show. We played that last night.
I even did one for TJ.
Yeah, I heard. TJ told me about that. Yeah, I love TJ. He's a great guy. So
yeah, we videoed for a while, and it was a good chat.
Jeremy, you're an experienced drone pilot out there in Nevada. Maybe you could tell the viewers, because a lot of people don't know your story, but how did you become involved with drones, and what was your first drone?
It's a long but short story. So when I was a kid, I was about 12 years old. I flew RC planes and helicopters with my dad. So we would build them and then go out and fly them. So I always had the love for it. And I've always been a computer. I've always been a nerd my entire life. Fast forward a couple of years, I ended up going in the Marine Corps. I spent 11 years in the Marine Corps. And during that time, I was a navigation aid technician. So I worked on the aviation radar systems. So a lot of the natural aeronautics and stuff like that came to me. When I got out of the Marine Corps, I was bored and getting in trouble. So I ended up going, finding a hobby, and drones was that hobby. So in a way, drones kind of saved me and sort of kept me out of trouble. But I started life with a Spark, like many of us have. And to be honest, that was a great little drone of its time. Then I don't know if it's a graduation or a demotion, but I got a Phantom 4 Pro and learned how to hook up goggles to that. And after that, it was all done from there. I knew I wanted to do FPV. So then I got into the homegrown, home built stuff. And I can solder, I can do the electronics and stuff. But as I was learning, I was doing a lot of crashing and a lot of repairing. So I was spending more time repairing than I was flying. So then came the DJI FPV, the potato, and really liked that drone. Still have it, and fly it not as much as I used to, but because I got both of the Avadas now, and that's really where it is. Now I'm sitting here waiting for the new DJI drone, the Air 3 or Air 4 or whatever or Air 4, Air 3S.
I know. There's one coming out very shortly.
Yeah.
But I started out with the Phantom 4 also when I got serious about drones, and I realized how easy they are to fly, the DJI drones, and it got me hooked, it got me hooked.
They still sell the Phantom 4 Pro on DJI website. So, it's got the great camera, it's got the big sensor on it. And it was a great drone. It's hard to carry around, right? When you go traveling anywhere or anything.
Yep. I remember carrying it down to Florida, bringing it on the plane, but it was fun. And I'm sorry I sold it. I should have kept it just, to have,
I do. The camera alone was really good. It just didn't have a lot of the technology that we have now in the new Mavics and stuff. But it was a good drone. Just again, hard to transport, hard to bring anywhere. Had a great battery life for its time. Back that was 5 years ago for me. And it still has great battery life. But I think my next adventure with drones, I was going to start down the real estate, and I really think that there's everybody and their sister's cousin is doing real estate with drones.
Okay.
And I think it's just oversaturated for, if I want to make any money at it or do a profit at it or anything. So I want to get into mapping and inspections and things like that, more of an industrial sense. So I think that's where my next thing. That's why I did the name change. So some of you guys may remember me as Vegas Aerial Services. So I wanted to broaden that a little bit and not do just Vegas because I am trying to move. So.
Okay, I gotcha. And you're into Jeeps too. That's another one of your hobbies, I guess,
Yeah, Johnny showed a video of me last night, or a video of mine last night, doing some Jeeping out in Jean, Nevada, which is just outside of Vegas here.
Yeah, that was cool. That was definitely cool. You followed that Jeep pretty good. But I have one of your cinematic videos queued up right now. So and you can narrate over it. You can talk over it and tell people what it's all about. And hopefully I'll get it to play.
Yeah, so this was out. We went to Hawaii a couple months ago, and had a really good time. My first time in Hawaii. This is just kind of a collaboration of all the little videos that I did, little clips of everything. The fireworks were amazing, and I got a little closer than I wanted to.
And what drone are you flying here? The Air 3?
Air 2S.
Everybody loves that drone. Everybody who has it loves it.
Yep. I'm praying that the Air 3S or Air 4, whatever they're going to call it, is at least equal.
It's cool filming fireworks too.
Yeah. That was my first time filming fireworks.
Oh, was it your first time?
Yeah.
Yep. Wow. Yeah. Very, very cool. Really. I filmed them in my neighborhood. I set the drone up in my backyard, and I
Yeah.
ended up. But that's a cool video. And if you guys want to watch the rest of that video, just, you can see it on Jeremy's channel. And if you're not subscribed, please subscribe to him. Do it now. Don't wait until after the show. You might forget.
So
But yeah.
one of my next big projects is filming the demolition of the Tropicana Hotel here.
Okay. When are they supposed to do that?
It's still a toss up. There's been talk that it'll be in January, early January. I don't know if any of you know, but they're going to be tearing that down to build the new Las Vegas A's stadium. So,
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, we've acquired the, I guess what used to be Oakland A's. I'm not a big baseball guy, so correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay.
But yeah, I know that we've acquired the A's, and we're building a big stadium there. So we have the Golden Knights as a NHL, National Hockey League.
Very, very cool. Well, to film an implosion,
Yeah,
I think would be really, really cool to
I'm
do.
excited. And then I hope to be able to document. They just closed the Mirage yesterday. So it got bought out by Hard Rock Entertainment, and they're going to be building a huge, enormous guitar like some of their other hotels.
Yeah.
I hope to be able to document that.
I've filmed the Hard Rock down in Fort Lauderdale, or Dania, I should say. I think it's really Dania, But it's cool. It is to film that hotel, guitar shaped hotel. But anyway, if anybody has any questions for Jeremy, please put them in the chat. I'll try to keep an eye out, and you keep an eye out for them too, Jeremy.
Yep.
Because most of the time I miss them, to tell you the truth.
Looks like Wedden put what I can't.
Paul had a question for you already.
Let me scroll up and see. A question for Jeremy. Thanks for your service for starters.
Yeah, I see it. There it is. Yep.
Oh, that is. It's an older one, but I still do a lot of stuff with it. So it's a T3i. I still do a lot of just amateur photography. I've got a couple lenses and stuff. I definitely don't do it on the professional level.
Yep. Okay. Cool. I can always depend on Paul. He always asks questions every week, and I appreciate
it's so hard
that.
to keep up with Chad. I see what you mean now when you're actually paying attention.
Usually, you're trying to keep the conversation going, and we got Hot Rod in the house now. How you doing, Rod? Good to see you.
You got quite a good turnout. You got 24 people watching.
Well, hopefully,
well, you got that.
I won't miss any questions. I really do try to keep an eye out for the questions. So
you got that prime spot, 7 p.m. That's a sweet spot for.
Yeah. I used to be on Mondays at 6 p.m. and I sort of changed it after a couple of years. And when this spot sort of opened up, I grabbed it.
It's 4 p.m.
We got this drone live stream guide, that Johnny makes up. And, as you can see, there's a lot of drone live streams.
Yeah.
So, and if anybody doesn't have a copy of this and you want a copy, let me know. We'll get a hold of Johnny and we'll get you a copy.
So I'll end my story real quick. So I've been a software developer for 24 years. I'm what's called a Microsoft Stack developer. So I primarily and only work with Microsoft products and develop against their systems. Right now, I work for, and this is just something I'm very proud of, and I love talking about it. I work for the only company in the world that tracks organ donations.
So really?
If Ray needs a kidney, I'm tracking it. I wrote the software that's keeping that all in line, and helps out with the donors and keeps everything in check.
Oh wow! Okay.
So it's something I've dreamt about my entire career. I've always worked for finance and things that I made good money doing it, but I always worked for places I really didn't want to work for, and I finally landed the job.
Well, I tell you, a lot of times people put in things like Hot Rod. I'm looking for his question. I can't find his question, by the way.
I saw it pop up on your screen.
It must have been way up, or he's just doing to get me going.
Paul, I don't work directly for Microsoft, so I can't get you that free copy of Office. Sorry.
And we got John Flynn watching, Flying Flynn Media. Good to see you, John.
Who's JC?
Anyway, Jeremy, I'm so glad that you're coming to the South Florida Drone Meetup. You and your lovely wife, Olive. And You're gonna enjoy meeting everybody who comes. Believe me, it's like one big family now. So, for those that don't know about the South Florida Drone Meetup, we're gonna have our fifth annual South Florida Drone Meetup on April 4th to the 7th in Jensen Beach, Florida, and it's free to come. Just let me know, or one of the other members of the drone meetup committee know you're coming. I'll add you to the list because we do pick a raffle prize just based on somebody's number on the list. So, or just show up. You don't have to be on the list. But we got another great lineup of events. Dennis Lovelady is going to do his entertaining again, singing and playing his ukulele, and people enjoy that. And Tony said that the singers, um, whose names are slipping my memory now, but the Breakaways, we'll say two of the members of the Breakaways, they're going to be entertaining us again too. So, and that's thank you to Tony because he pays for them to come, and we really appreciate that. So thank you, Tony Szerski. Really. But listen, we're going to get back to your story in a little bit, Jeremy. I don't want to leave Mike in the back room. Oh, I slipped. I told people who the surprise guest is. Oh, but now, which Mike? That's the question. But anyway, I want everybody really to give a warm welcome to Mike King. He's coming to us all the way from Utah. Hey,
right,
Mike.
right next to Jeremy.
Yeah, and Mike has a YouTube channel called Profiling Evil. He's a retired police commander, and he does all sorts of things. He's a special correspondent for Court TV. But thank you for being on tonight, Mike.
Oh, I was thrilled to do it, Ray. I always catch pieces and parts of your show, so whenever you say, "Hey, I need you to come on for a minute," I feel honored.
And Mike is now a drone pilot too. I hounded him for 3 years. Mike, you should really try drone flying. You'd like it. It's a great hobby. And he has bought a drone and he's been flying. Tell us about it, Mike.
Well, first, Jeremy, word on the street is that you're part of that Las Vegas Leatherneck group of really radical Marines. So thanks for serving and thanks for always remembering all the others. You also mentioned the fact that you really would like to get into mapping. And I thought, Ray, if it's okay, I'd just pop up a screen here to show something more for Jeremy's
Mike is very into mapping.
Than others. So let me know when that pops up. Oh, I guess I can see it now too. So Jeremy, I have a home down in St. George, so really close to you. And I've flown that desert now a couple of times between St. George and Las Vegas and found little places, especially in the canyon, to get some cool shots of the river and stuff like that. But are you familiar with the polygamous group out in Hilldale, Colorado City?
I'm not familiar, but I'm aware of them.
So you're not a member, but you are familiar with the history. Well, in that community is a little cemetery, and I spent decades out there trying to arrest the polygamists who were sexually assaulting children. And when I retired in January, I decided I'm going to fly this little infant cemetery where more than 250 babies were undocumented, had no birth certificate, no death certificate, and ultimately were just stuffed in the ground in this little cemetery. And I decided that I was going to use my experience with mapping because I worked for GIS company Esri for 20 years after my law enforcement career. And when Ray convinced me to do this drone business, I also took advantage of my GIS experience and pushed those two sciences together. And so this is the city of Hilldale where many of the polygamists reside. But I went with my drone and I flew the cemetery and captured high resolution imagery. And then I placed it over the top of an Esri map so that I could interact with it. And you'll notice as I start to zoom in, it starts to change kind of the area that I'm looking at so I can actually see what gravestones happen to be within that view. And and got pretty high resolution imagery out of the thing,
Yeah.
and then made a way for the public, who particularly are polygamists that have escaped polygamy but want to remember and somehow memorialize these little tykes that were buried here, to come back and be able to show some more information. And so I put the gravestones out here where I could give people a chance to look at the gravestone a little more closely. They can go in and explore a little bit of information about the child. And we're actually starting to get now ex-polygamists who are sending me video that we're pumping in to tell a little bit of the story behind that little child that was born there.
Wow.
That is really cool. That's probably one of the coolest things I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But yes, so as you start doing this, you're going to have a blast, because I think drone work and geography are one of the most amazing team sports there is.
Yeah.
Now, what drone did you use to film that, Mike?
I'm using the DJI Mini Pro 4.
Right. Okay.
4 Pro. Mini 4 Pro.
Mini 4 Pro. Yeah, that's a great drone, you know.
Yeah, did some great work. So anyway, so Ray convinced me to do this crazy stuff, and I because I end up with calls from families from time to time to look at cold cases. I spent much of my career doing cold cases. I oftentimes will take the drone out with me, and then I try to do something kind of fun along the way to balance that bucket between the ugliness of murder and that there are really cool things in the world to see. And when Ray's ready, we're going to just share a couple of minutes of me out on the Northwest desert the last couple of days in the 105-degree weather.
Yeah, it gets hot out there, I guess, right?
Yes, it does, but not as hot as where Jeremy is. I think you busted the 120 mark, didn't you?
Yeah, that was an all-time record. I thought it was like record for that day when we busted the record, but that's the highest it's ever been in Las Vegas was last week.
Incredible. We won't even go to our home in St. George during the summer. I don't know how you do it.
Well, I have to say, Mike, you know, you picked up drone flying fairly quickly. You know, you became quite the drone pilot, you know, for a new pilot. You know, we consider you a new pilot.
Well, I'm definitely a new pilot, although I've been an aircraft pilot since I was 16. So
Right, yeah.
But this
That's
is an
amazing.
entirely different thing.
That's a big accomplishment too. You were flying at 16 years old.
Yeah, my mother didn't quite understand what she had agreed to.
Yeah. No, that's great, really. And Johnny's saying hello to you, you know. So
Hey, Johnny, how you doing?
and we got a celebrity in the chat, Marcus Crawford. Idaho Quadcopter's watching tonight. How you doing, Marcus? Good to see you. So, but anyway, and again, if anybody has any questions for Mike, put them in the chat, and we'll keep an eye out for them. But Mike, I find your show, Profiling Evil, so interesting. I mean, you highlight so many of the top cases that are going on in the country right now. Maybe you want to tell everybody about your channel, really.
Profiling Evil happened because my kids encouraged me during COVID to do something. I think they got tired of me droning on about police work in the old days, Ray, of the things we used to do, kicking doors and investigating cases. And we put a video up, and it seemed to resonate. And gosh, we have an incredible amount of people that follow. What I try to do is stay away from all of the sensationalism I see on true crime channels. And I deal only with what is publicly released. In many cases, I actually know more about the case than is publicly released, and I don't publicize those kinds of things. In fact, the case we're going to talk about a little bit today, I worked intimately with the family through the entire 2-year investigation until this young man's body was recovered and the predator was convicted for murder. Never said a word about that. And today I'm going to actually share some things that nobody has ever spoken about either that have just happened in the last couple of days. So,
I just want to show this because that body probably would not have been found if
a couple of really
he
important
didn't
things happened
plead
in that
guilty
hearing
and give up
today.
the
Number
location.
one, and most importantly to me,
Let me show this
James
little video.
Brenner admitted that he shot and killed Dylan Rounds, shooting him in the head. He admitted in open court that he was guilty of murder, and he's guilty of the murder of Dylan Rounds. That was huge. He also pled guilty to some weapons charges. The district attorney made it really clear that he's not as concerned with the sentence range, which is kind of a frightening range for most of us. It's 3 to 30 years. But because Brenner has had something similar to an aggravated assault or an attempted murder in his past, plus this murder and many other violations, including these weapons violations, it is unlikely that he will ever leave prison. And so that is the really good news, that he will go to prison in 3 years. He'll have his first opportunity for a parole hearing, but Candace and her family will be there and they will share their opinion. But let me tell you what, the Board of Pardons is not going to look favorably on this guy. And I don't believe that he's ever going to see freedom again. And that's really good news.
Dylan Round's mother says.
Well, anyway, Mike, I'll let you talk more about it, and again, Mike has so many great cases that he talks about on Profiling Evil. So if you're not subscribed, do it now. Don't wait until the end of the
Thanks,
show.
Rick.
Subscribe now.
I just
Oh,
subscribed.
beautiful.
But anyway,
Well, it's interesting because Dylan Rounds was a young man. This is a kid who, after graduating high school, Jeremy, he decided he was going to go out and start farming. And he was raised in Idaho, and he went to the northwest corner of Utah where, I'll tell you what, it is not dry farming. It's actual farming. They call it out in the desert. I originally called it dry farming and was corrected, but it is rough conditions out there. And this is just north and a little bit west of the bombing range for Hill Air Force Base and for the Air Force tied to your community. But the kid disappeared, and it went several weeks with nothing happening other than the mother showing up at the scene and finding his boots out in the desert. Law enforcement initially was treating it as a missing person case. She says, these boots have blood on them. And they said, nah, it looks like paint. And she forced them to take it and put it into evidence. And that eventually led to an actual match to his DNA. And that launched a murder investigation that went on for several years. And I did a video early on that you'll remember, Ray, but in that video, I went out and I showed what thousands of square miles of desert look like. And for people that haven't been out in the desert, trying to find a 4-foot hole that somebody's dug to stick a body in is about as easy as finding those old traditional needles in a haystack.
exactly.
And I said, this kid will never be found unless some ATVer stumbles across him or an animal digs up his grave and spreads his bone out on the sand, or the killer confesses. And that's what eventually happened.
And you recently went out. Should I show that little what you have
Sure,
up?
yeah.
Let's talk about this because it's so interesting, really.
Yeah, this is how vast that area is. Now imagine finding a burial site out in this desert. And this I thought what I would do, Ray, if we could just pause for a second, is I'm going to kind of talk about Dylan at the end. But one thing that I thought is, I fill my bucket with all this ugly stuff about murder and everything else. I thought, while I'm out here, I'm going to just drive across the Transcontinental Railroad grade and record some cool things that are happening across there and get the drone up and shoot some imagery. And so that's what I was doing. And so this is the railway. When you think about the eastern line of the Pacific, Union Pacific Railroad, trying to meet the west line heading eastbound of the Central Pacific. And that's what led to the Golden Spike, where the two rails that joined the United States from East Coast to West Coast happened. And in this stretch of 100 miles of northern Utah desert is the original grade for the railroad. So now you can run that, and I'll just talk through it while I go. But this kind of shows this thing it was covered with these little stations like this one in Terrace, that you think about what it was looking like in 1869, and now this is what it looks like today. And if we could pause right there for just 1 second, Ray, that image is really cool because it shows one of the original roundhouse locations for the train.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
as the train was heading eastbound, they would pull up right there, and those are the original tracks. You think about this, 160 years later, you can still see those when you pop a drone up.
Wow.
And this is the place where now, if you run the video, I overlaid one of the original plans for that, that they would bring the train and on a carousel, turn it back 180 degrees so it could head west, because the rails just ended at this point. They hadn't dug this thing far enough. But it kind of shows what this
You
area
get a whole
looks like.
different perspective from the drone view. Really.
Amazing, isn't it?
It is.
These old trestles I thought were just incredibly cool too, because this is an original one built there. And then I'm walking up to that same trestle now, 160 years later. It's still standing. You can still see the rail grade. The round pilings are actually the ones driven in the 1860 era. The square pilings or square beams were created or dug into the 1900s to fortify the original beams, and that's kind of the history I learned. And then things like these rock culverts that have stood for 160 years, that they used to divert the water through so the train wouldn't go across it.
Wow.
So that's the original railroad grade on the left. When it comes to one of these bridges, the road kind of takes a little short deviant pathway around, but you kind of get to see this amazing piece of history as you go across there. And then finally, I'll just end with the search for Dylan, which was, this is Dylan's grave. His mom wanted to go out and see if we could look for more of his remains, and then close this grave off so that YouTubers and other people wouldn't come and show it off and do shows from it. And so we went out, we actually recovered his tibia, and so even as short as 2 days ago, there were still parts of this young man's remains that are littering the area. We actually dug the grave deeper than the sheriff's office did and recovered his tibia. But it kind of, again, I'm right over the grave right now, and imagine in a helicopter or anything else, we send out all these search crews saying, go find, the body.
Yeah.
And this is a needle in a haystack.
It is.
And then I wanted to end with just a little minute or two with Candace at the side of a pond where Dylan's phone was recovered by using GPS
so
off
Jason
of
and
the
Mike
device.
came out and helped us today. We wanted to go through the gravesite one more time, see if we could find something, and we did. Give Jason's dog Lily a chance to experience and give her some training and see if she could find anything, and just kind of put some closure, I hate that word, but at least to the loosened area.
Well, so another thing that we did today that I think is going to be really interesting is we got some really nice drone imagery at multiple elevations so that we can create a three-dimensional map of the disposal site. That's the technical term, or the place in which Dylan was buried the second time, most likely, if he was ever buried the first time.
Yeah.
And that, makes you wonder about the organizational level of Brenner. That first time he may have just dumped Dylan somewhere and then thought later, I got to do something. And there was a lot of evidence that you talked about that pointed toward his attempts to confuse the investigation in that regard. But with that imagery, we'll be able to look at some of the change detection and use that for other cold case investigations. So if we could stop there for a minute, Ray. What you can learn from the... So the idea was to take the drone out and fly this area with high-res imagery at a 200-foot elevation with a 75% angle on the camera, and shoot the area in a crosshatch pattern. So one way and then crosshatch it at 200 feet and then at 100 feet, Jeremy. And the idea would be with that then, and Esri technology, we can create a three-dimensional map where we can really look at the terrain differences and we can see why some areas are more difficult to search based on a helicopter or a drone flying over than by doing it by land and having the ability to look at the elevation changes a little more easily.
Mike,
And then,
we have a question, if you don't mind me
okay,
interrupting right now, from
certainly.
Paul Brown, Wedgenbig. He says, "What has been the greatest advantage of adding a drone to your tool belt, Mike?"
Well, I think it's like any crime scene photographer. You can go back and you can be at the scene while you're now. I'm 180 miles away from the desert, but I can look and see that ground. I can look at the terrain. I can look at the environment and look at it from different angles now because of technology that I couldn't do before. I think that's the biggest. And then you can actually start to do a lot of other things, like what we're doing now. Is we covered that grave up so people couldn't find it. We smoothed it out. We threw some sagebrush on it. It was already really tough to find, but now it's going to be a little harder. And then in about 4 months, I'm going to go back and fly the area again, and then we'll do change detection so that we can see if you can actually see the scarring. And you think about that railroad grade, and that's why I put that in there. 160 years later, you can still see that roundhouse. There's got to be a better way to fix some of these things, and it might be reestablishing some sagebrush right where that grave is, or some other things to get rid of those natural marks that occur. And so, anyway, as we finish up, Candace, this morning I ran out and flew a Children's Justice Center where we've been donating.
Should I start this up again, Mike? Or no?
What's that?
Should I start?
Yeah, go ahead and just start it. Just going to another 30 seconds, it'll be over. The environment, and of course, so this is a Children's Justice Center. We've been donating toward the construction of a place where children can be forensically and physically examined when they're sexually assaulted. They can also be prepared for the court system. And proceeds from my books and many of the things we do on profiling evil, we've been pushing toward this. So I'm watching it very closely as they get this thing built. But I thought it was just another great way and use of the drone to be able to go and look at the area and see what's happening.
That's great. And that center is going to be awesome when it's completed, really. And I give you a lot of credit, Mike, for donating proceeds, and you're helping out there. It's a great cause, really.
I have a question for you, Mike. Do you have plans to upgrade your Mini 4 Pro?
Well, so I don't know what I don't know, and it just does everything I need it to do, so I doubt it.
Yeah. I'm just wondering, with a better sensor on the camera, like either right now, the only thing that's available and that's new is the Air 2S that has the 1-inch sensor. But they hopefully are coming out, as I talked earlier, with this new Air 3S or Air 4, whatever they're going to call it. Hopefully we'll have a dual 1-inch sensor. That's what rumors are. I just wonder if you could capture more points of data that you could use.
Probably so. And frankly, I don't want to become that guy. I just want to be the guy that can slam my drone into the side of a
Mike.
What's that?
Thermal camera drone in your future.
As soon as he mentioned S3, I remember I had to go Google it to figure out why I remembered it. I use ArcGIS, so I already used that and actually implemented with my Air 3, which can't be done yet because we don't have the software yet from DJI. We could use it in the older drones, but things like Litchi and some of these other mapping tools, we couldn't use them in the newer drones. Right. And they actually found a way you can hack the waypoints and it's kind of called sideload the waypoints in. And waypoints is really the way to go. I'm sure you know that. So
yeah. So Esri really pushes the latest versioning of their drone solution. But the previous version, which is still being supported, is called Drone to Map. And in Drone to Map, you can actually collect all your images as still images and then upload them, and it will automatically stitch them together and georeference them. And so you can actually bypass some of the things that you can't do today because,
the SDK is not available for these newer drones.
Yeah.
So I will probably be contacting you on a sideline because a lot of the stuff you've done, and I don't need to be investigating any murders or anything here in Vegas. I'm sure there's a ton of stuff.
Yeah, you got plenty. Just go to Lake Mead.
Right. But I plan to move to Pahrump. And what I really want to use a drone for in the future is mapping out these off-road four-wheel drive Jeep trails that we don't have actual. There's maps of them, just aerial photography, but there's not actual topology, accurate topology. People have gone out and tried to do it and have not been accurate. Obviously, Google Maps can't drive back there to give an accurate representation.
Yeah, that would be very cool, and it would be cool if Google or Esri would create a nationwide fabric where people could upload their drone imagery from all around the world. Esri has a community base map where you can add, this is a new street in my neighborhood, and rather than wait for 2 years for Google to publish something. And so, we need to take more advantage of this public community that we've got.
Yeah, no. Using a drone is really a great thing. It has so many benefits, really. The old days, you had to go up in a helicopter, Mike, or an aircraft,
No, it's awesome, and it's all thanks to you, Ray, for getting me to pull the trigger. So
yeah, well, I knew you'd have a lot of fun with it, and you're putting it to good use.
Having fun.
A lot of people don't know that you are a published author. You've written 4 books. Am I right? Or
7.
How many books? 7. Okay.
7.
Wow. Okay.
Crazy.
And they're all crime type novels, true stories.
Yes. Yeah. Well, some may argue whether they're true or not, but they're all based on truth. So, Some have done very well, and I have actually 2 books that are intended more for investigators. A cold case methodology to help the process. But the biggies have been She Knew No Fear, Deceived, Predators, Who Are They and How Do We Stop Them, Profilers. And it's been really wonderful. And I'm actually going to be in your neck of the woods in August, Ray. Just finished a series with History's Mysteries with Lawrence Fishburne. This just finished the 2nd season of that, which was fun to be able to participate last season. That aired on June 3rd. And then just flew back from Los Angeles a few days ago after wrapping up that. But I'm going to be doing a special for Fox on a documentary in New York City in mid-August. And I was thinking if I can get a day, I'd love to go out to Long Island and maybe shoot some imagery at Gilgo and talk about Heerman or something.
Yeah, definitely. That's a big case here.
Yeah, and why isn't Mike coming to the South Florida Drone Meetup in April?
Yeah, he
always asks that, but every April at the same time is a thing in Europe that has to do with 911 globally that I usually end up speaking at. And so I always take Europe over Ray, but I need to maybe rethink my.
We'll get him down here one of these years, But I tell you, Mike, really, the work that you're still doing is really, really great. It is. So thank you for doing it.
It's been fun to work cases with you, Ray. And Ray and I, Jeremy, we have a family that we love a lot. A detective that Ray served with that was murdered, and I'm hoping to see the kids while I'm out there. Ray.
Got the bracelet right on. Yep.
Yeah.
I
never miss a National Law Enforcement Day that I don't call the kids from the memorial in DC and let them know, love them and think about them. And
we appreciate you featuring Detective Dennis Westenhoff's case on Profiling Evil. You gave it some added exposure, and you also were very instrumental in getting that case featured on the Dr. Phil show.
Yeah, so Phil was sure kind to us on that one, wasn't he? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what a pleasure. And Jeremy, thank you for letting me share some of your time. I'm going to the mountains right now to sight in a brand new air rifle so that I can take care of this certain problem I've got up there.
I don't know if I want to know.
Okay. You don't want to share what that problem is?
I do have a pigeon problem, and I know what you mean.
This one's a little varmint that keeps eating my trout. So I'm gonna and I think I've figured out a way to convince him not to come back. So
Yeah. Well, that's good. I hope you solve it. Really.
Me too.
Yeah.
And in
You
your
know.
reply, I'm very humbled to be a
I don't.
guest.
I don't think it's groundhogs though, John.
I'm very humbled to be a guest with you, Mike.
Oh, heavens no.
you
And
have,
I'll tell you, I want to talk to you about all your Microsoft work, because I just figured out how to do a webhook, but I've been doing Microsoft and Esri together for decades. But anyway, and now I know who can I call you when I need a formula for Excel?
There you go.
Ray, and Johnny's in the room too. They know I'm quick to answer any question for anybody.
Perfect.
Yeah. No.
Well,
That's one thing about the drone community. Really. It's one big family. They You have a question, there's somebody who will help you. And they're more than happy to do it. You called me the other day. We discussed a little issue that we were having, and I immediately had recommended Marcus, Idaho quadcopter, and you reached out to him, and he was very receptive.
it was awesome. Yeah, no, it's a blast. And
Yeah.
you saying what a receptive community is, it made me laugh, and I'll leave this as my parting words. On one particular afternoon, I was interviewing Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, and we were sitting in San Quentin prison, and he told me the exact same words. So when you said that, Ray, I had a flashback of death row inmates and the drone community
Oh, that's funny.
have the same commonalities.
Yeah. But anyway, we got a question from Mario. How you doing, Mario? Good to see you. Mike, what software do you use to do mapping?
Oh, hey, Mario, great question. I am really because I spent 17 and a half years with Esri. ArcGIS is the core product of Esri. I was the president of Esri, has given me software to continue to use. So I use Esri. I'm really impressed with a new product out on the map. A lot of people are thinking Mapbox. A lot of people like Google, but there's a new one called Felt, F-E-L-T, that is pretty darn exciting, and I think has some real ability to bring in additional forms of data. So yeah, get me started. I turn into a GIS geek, so we'll leave it at that.
Cool. Yeah. Well, I do have a little format, and I do talk about a tip of the week, but it's nothing sophisticated. Just do your firmware updates at home before you go fly, because they sometimes can deplete your batteries while you're doing it. So take care of that before you get out there.
I second that.
Do you have any tips, Jeremy? Do you have a tip?
I do, yeah. So some of you know that I moderate a few large drone groups on Facebook. And that what you hit on, it brings up a valid point. So many people want to avoid updating their firmware to the latest because they feel that they're taking away some features or adding on something that they should or shouldn't have. And I argue every time that somebody posts that, because one problem I have is the people that fly illegally. That they fly under the radar, and that's what this new firmware prevents that from happening. When the Avata first came out, the Avata 1, you could fly it without a phone. Now you must have a phone plugged into it, the Avata 1, not the 2. And it's things like that people bypass, and I strongly recommend always update your firmware.
Yep. Okay.
Excellent.
Yep. It's true, no doubt about it. I've heard of somebody having a problem though when they did do that, and they ended up having the Air 2S brick. We call it bricking. It didn't work anymore after he did that update. It was a freak thing, but DJI did the right thing, and they gave him a whole brand new drone. So, But anyway, I'm trying to see if there's any and Paul Brown wants to get in touch with you, Mike. So he wants your email. So
yeah, I tried to respond in the chat box, and it wouldn't accept it. So you've kicked me off the island from that one. So just go to profilingevil.com, and it has links to the email, and that'll get you to me, or profilingevil@gmail.com.
Yep, and Paul mentions about waiting 24 hours. Yeah, okay.
I should have mentioned that, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion too. Yeah, definitely. But I'll tell you guys, I do a little contest also. It's only for a $10 Amazon gift card, monthly giveaway. So now is the time for our viewers and you guys too, because you don't know the lucky number. Put in your lucky number between 1 and 50. I'll try to keep an eye out on it for it. Nope, nope, not 13. Nope, not 21, not 29. Oh, yeah, getting closer though. People are getting closer. Yep. Okay. No, I don't see it yet. I do see it. I do see it. Think Trucker Steve had it. Did he put in number 5? Trucker Steve, number 5. Congratulations. Your name will go in the hat. All right. So anyway, it's just a little fun contest that we have, Mike. And I got to say thank you to John Gregory because he's a big supporter of the channel and he makes a donation where we can keep doing that.
That's
And on the
awesome.
Fly for Fun show, we give away some different prizes here and there. So thank you to John Gregory, Connecticut Pirate. So, but anyway, guys, I hate to say it, the hour has almost flew by, really. It just goes by so quick. But you guys were totally interesting tonight. You were great guests. Thank you so much for being on. But now I'm going to give you the floor. Mike, you could say your goodbyes. I'll let you go first and anything you'd like to promote.
Hey, just stop by Profiling Evil especially if you're having a hard time sleeping at night. You'll fall asleep really quick, or you'll be so emotionally disturbed you'll stay up all night. So I don't know your personality, but just always a pleasure to be with you. Jeremy, thanks again for serving our country. Thanks for continuing to remember those that have. And, I guess the only thing I'd want to say, Ray, is we've really become mean in our country, and I don't understand why. And we've forgotten how to take care of things. I think World War II made a change across the world because everybody had to start rebuilding again. I hope we don't hit that point that we're smart enough to be kind to each other and quit being such jerks. Because, man, there's some mean stuff going on out there.
I know. Totally agree with you, Mike. Thank you for being on, though.
Thanks.
Really. And that's how I met Mike, from Profiling Evil. It was recommended to me, and I started watching it, and I could tell Mike was a great guy, and Profiling Evil is a great channel. I particularly like his choir practice night.
So, we do have fun at choir practice, and I'll tell you, the first time Ray emailed me, I thought it was Commissioner Ray Kelly of the New York Police Department. So I immediately got back with him. And then when I heard his voice, I said, now, wait a minute.
Yeah. No. And we've been friends
Ray has
ever
a distinguished law enforcement career that I deeply respect, including rescuing a child and actually pulling her from the basement after she had been abducted and held hostage for I think a week or so, wasn't it, Ray?
17 days. 17 days. We got her back alive, thank God.
Yep. So yeah, thank you. Thanks to both of you. And thanks to everybody. It's so fun to see the comments. I hope you all have a great night.
But now, Jeremy, it's your time to say your goodbyes and anything you would like to promote.
Mine will be super short. Thank you so much for having me. I hope to continue to help your community grow and Johnny's as well, and hopefully get the South Florida Drone Meetup little promotion out there. Mike, I did put in our private chat in StreamYard contact different. Okay, never mind. I see you guys. Never mind. I appreciate that and definitely hope to do some collaboration work with you. Like I said, moving to Pahrump, I think is going to be a big thing for me, and I think it's going to open a lot of doors. And again, just thank you so much for both of you, all three of you, everybody that's in the chat.
Well, thank you. Thank you for being on, Jeremy, Mike. You both were great guests. I really appreciate it. And thank you to the viewers, because again, if it wasn't for the viewers, we'd be doing this for nothing. But thank you all for watching the show tonight. And just get out there, as our show says, fly for fun, but most importantly, fly safely. And we'll see you again next week, same time, same place.